when you're like having multiple projects, multiple divisions in your organization, and for each of the project or division you want to calculate revenues and profits separately. In that case you'll be like doing controlling also separately, so that you have to have separate standards. Intangible standards applies when you want to like measure things which is difficult to measure, like trust, loyalty, your competency of the team, and morale. All these things, if you want to measure, you have to get into intangible standards, and it's definitely going to be very difficult when compared to the rest of the standards. And sometimes people keep the goals as their standards directly. Okay, so imagine if your team goals is to like achieve 100% production without 0% error. So then that's going to be your standard as well. Okay, and next one is strategic plans as control points. Okay, so this is an important type, because so here you'll be like applying control techniques for your strategy of your organization. Okay, so based on the goals and objectives, all the organizations will be formulating strategies, and you want to like check whether your strategy is doing right or wrong. You'll be applying control over it. Okay, so based on the control points that you are putting it in, so you will be like sometimes modifying your organization strategy as well. Okay, actually this happens only after checking it. Okay, so if you're supposed to like modify, you have to like modify your organization strategy based on the strategic control that you've implemented in. Yeah, that's a good sign actually. That might be like give you a good opportunity to get more profits. Okay, next one is benchmarking. Okay, this happens everywhere. So imagine you're an organization which is manufacturing shirts, as I was already saying. So your company's employee was just manufacturing 2 shirts per day, whereas the other companies' employees were manufacturing 3 shirts per day using the same machines, using the same infrastructure. So which means that you are setting, seeing that company and setting that their standards as your standards. So this is called benchmarking. It's nothing but it's an approach of setting goals based on the best industry practices. How are you going to get the best industry practices? By checking around the your competitors, your suppliers, your customers. You get to know the best industry practices, and accordingly you set your standards. Okay, and this should be like humanly possible as well. When you set the standards, you have to really know that. And this is of 3 types: strategic, operational, and management. So when you like do this benchmarking in your strategic operations, yes, that is strategic benchmarking. When it happens in your day-to-day operations in the production department, that is called the operational benchmarking. And when it happens in the finance or HR department in the managerial level, you can call that as a management benchmarking. So control as a feedback system. So most of the time this controlling is being used as feedback system. Obviously we are supposed to like find out what's going to go wrong, and then we are supposed to rectify it. But most of the time this control is being used as feedback system. We finish the process and we get the feedback, and then we analyze what went wrong. Okay, so actually there's a process here for this controlling. The first one is desired performance. As an organization, you have to really identify what is your desired performance. This is nothing but setting your standards or planning your objectives and everything. Okay, that happens in the desired performance. Based on your objectives, your strategy, everything, you desire a particular performance for each of the team, and there comes the actual performance. Okay, so you might be like wanting to manufacture 4 shirts a day by an employee. Okay, but the actual performance was like you found out, okay, it's going to be only 3 shirts per day. It's possible. And then you measure them, you measure the actual performance, and then you compare this actual performance with the right standards, and then identify the deviation. So here the deviation is 1 shirt per day by an employee. So your standard is to like have 4 shirts per day, but your employees are producing only 3 shirts per day. Okay, so you identify that 1 shirt is this deviation, and then you analyze what is the cause of this deviation. In this case, like it is not humanly possible to produce 4 shirts a day, because each person can like produce 3 shirts per day in 8 hours they work. Okay, so you find the program of corrective action. Here it is really not possible with the machineries that they have right now. So if you're gonna advance your machineries, maybe you bring in a machine which to sew the buttons. Earlier, like your employees were doing it manually. In that case, like if you're bringing a machine separately to sew it, in that case, yes, 4 shirts might be like possible. So here you are like bringing one per a new machine extra so that it can like sew the buttons. So here you will be able to achieve that desired performance of manufacturing 4 shirts per day. Okay, so this is a real process for controlling. Okay, so I think everybody should have like used our Book My Show app. Okay, so how it looks like when you log in and if you want to like book a ticket for a movie, you just like go on and then you block the seats and then you just proceed to payment. So imagine yeah, your friend is also logging in and you also want the same seat that you log in. Will you be able to like get it? No, it's not possible. The first person who blocks the seat will get it. Okay, so even if there is a difference in 1 second, the person who selects first will get that. So how is this possible of like monitoring this real time information? Okay, so we have a very advanced information technology and the right infrastructure to make this possible. Okay, this kind of real-time information control has to be like implemented in all of the organizations so that the managers can able to get the right information at the right time so that they can take action and take control. Okay, imagine if Book My Show will be like updating your seat selected only after 5 minutes you book, and imagine if a movie is getting released and most of the people want to like watch it at DFS, what happens? So everybody will be like logging on at the same time. The Book My Show like opens that particular tickets for that movie. Everybody will be like will be going for the back seat, and then everybody blocks it. And after 5 minutes, only the one person gets it. And what happens? The rest of the people will not get it. But here it's not like that. So we are getting the real time information. Okay, like the employer should be like having the real should be getting the real time information, as well as the manager should be getting the real time information so that they can able to monitor whether they're performing better or not so that they can achieve their standards. So the controlling is really possible. Okay, we have discussed this already. There's 3 type of control. So we have this process of input, process, and output. So when you're trying to control what are the inputs that you're giving in, the raw materials that you're given, it is called as feed forward control. So here you anticipate problems. When you like try to control the process which is happening, you call that a concurrent control because you're correcting the problems as they when it happens. Okay, and final one is a feedback control. So you here you'll be like uh, finishing the product and you're sending it to the customers. After that, you're finding out the problem, so you're correcting it after the problems has occurred. Okay, so this is 3 different types of controlling process. This we have like discussed already with examples in detail. Okay, so this feed forward control is otherwise called as a preventive control, which happens during the input process. So I'll give you a very good example here. Imagine you're a hunter and you want to like hunt a bird which is flying. So will you be like shooting at the position of the bird which is flying right now? No, we'll be shooting few at a few distance away from where it is flying right now because the bullet takes some time to reach that particular place, right? So hunter always like works in that way. So that's how even a manager or an employee has to work in an organization. You always have to focus how things move, how things get processed in the department that he or she is working, and accordingly you have to plan. Okay, this is a small example for you to like understand how you have to be like anticipating the things. Okay, so the same input process output diagram. So when you like do controlling for the during the input process, you call that as a feed forward. Okay, so you provide information, based on that you take corrective action. Okay, and you receive feedback from input process as well as outputs, and then and based on that you take actions and you get desired value of outputs. Okay, so this is a simple example or a comparison of feed forward and feedback system. Okay, So what are the requirements that you have to get to implement a feed forward control in your organization? Okay, first you have to really analyze the planning and control system in your organization. As I told you, the planning and controlling always go together, because if you find that your plan is not working, you'll be able to find out only in the controlling phase, not in any other. Okay? So you have to really analyze the planning and control system, and you identify the input variables. So in what input variables things go wrong. Okay, and you develop a model. So you have this input process output, right? So if it is a shirt, a manufacturing company, so what happens, your input is going to be your threads, your dyeing, and then your process is going to be like sewing and all these things. Output is going to be a shirt. So there's going to be a model. It's just simple, but there's going to be a different complex model, and you have to like create it, and you have to keep this model up to date. You have to update it when there is a small change. So earlier, if you're like sewing buttons manually, and if you're like putting get different machine right now to sew the buttons, now the process is automated. So this process has to be like automated. This model that you created has to be updated also. Okay, so and based on that model you collect the data. So how many lengths of yarn or threads that you're like giving in to get a shirt, and like how you dye your shirt, all this, what are the chemicals that you put in, and all this measurement should be like captured, and you assess the variation. For example, you want to manufacture a shirt which is black in color, and you have to really so and it turns out to be gray, so there is a deviation in the color. So you have to really identify the color variation. This is because of the variations in the chemicals which is added in dyeing process. So you have to really assess this variation, and then you have to correct it by taking action. Okay, so this process has to be like forwarded, and these are the requirements which you need to implement a feed forward control. You need a analysis of planning and control system, and then you have to model it, and you should keep on updating it, and you have to collect data on the input variables, and then you have to assess them frequently to find out the deviation. Okay, so imagine if doing this in one department, in production department, in one organization is difficult, and you have to implement the same thing in all of the departments in the organization, including finance, HR, quality, everywhere. Okay, this has to be like implemented, and most of the times it's been like done through financial control only. Most of the time this controlling process of financial, but non-financial controlling process is also like available, which we'll be like discussing right now. This financial control is done through profit and loss control. So here you'll be assessing how much money you're making, how much loss or how much profit that you are making right now. Based on that, you will be like you will be doing the profit and loss control. Okay, and then if you control the return on investment, imagine you have invested 1 crore rupees in the manufacturing shirts. Okay, so you'll be like a kind of manufacturing of shirts worth 10 lakhs per each of the month. Okay, so here you're getting a revenue of 10 lakhs per month. So you will be able to get your profit of almost 9 lakhs per month. Imagine your 90% is profit rate. So your controlling techniques is like that. You have to get minimum of 85 lakhs 8 lakhs per month. That is your standard. So you are investing 1 crore of money, and then you wanted to get minimum of 8 lakhs per month. If you're getting that, you are satisfied. That is your standard. Okay, if your company is making 9 lakhs per month, yes, you're happy. But if your company is making 7 lakhs per month, you're not happy with that, because your return on investment is less. Okay, and through management audits and accounting firms, there's a lot of accounting firms, management accounting firms throughout the world which takes care of this. For example, you have McKinsey, which is a very famous management accounting firm which does consulting for a lot of firms. Okay, so this accounting audit firms takes care of all this, and how to do the controlling process. Balance scorecard. Okay, balance scorecard is one of the very important technique which is proposed by Robert and David in the year 1992. Okay, in the Harvard Business Review. Okay, Harvard Business Review is a magazine which is published by Harvard Business School, and the e-copy is also available on the website. If you want, you can just go and have a look at it. Okay, so this has been this framework, this balanced framework has been like published in Harvard Business Review in 1992. So I'll show you the diagram so that you can able to understand. So it says that if any company will be like able to will be able to assist based on these four things. First one is the financial performance, and the second one is based on the customer satisfaction, how satisfied the customers of the company is, and third one is the learning ability of an organization. Okay, and fourth one is the internal business process, how efficient the company is. And based on these four things, a company can be like assessed or controlled. Okay, it's actually concurrent with the system approach that we have discussed. This focus on the importance of the goals and objectives, as well as between the close relationship between the planning and controlling. Okay. Moreover, the importance of total management process here has been like stressed by integration of both strengths and weakness. So here all the departments of the company is been brought together. Here through customer satisfaction we got marketing. Here we got finance department, we got HR department, because we're trying to enhance the knowledge of it. Here the whole internal business process is brought in. Okay. Okay, so we to align our company's activities with the vision, we have to really take care of this four perspectives. Okay, and you can also like apply this control in two ways, through bureaucratic control and clan control. So bureaucratic control, as its name suggests, you're implying control by putting down rules and regulations, by policies. You're doing it. By in the clan control, you're not doing it through the formal papers, but you create that as a part of your culture, through the shared values. You created that as a belief in your organization. Okay, that is your clan control. So what are the requirements that a company need to implement this control? Okay, so you can't just like take a control which your competitor has exercised and then implement in your organization. You can't do that. Okay, so you have to like customize it, tailor it based on the based on your objective that you want to achieve, and based on your position. For example, if you're a vice president, you can you can't apply the same control that the CEO is applying. Okay, so based on the position, based on the individual people's personality and attitude, you have to change the control. Okay, and sometimes there might be like few exceptions. So imagine you always want to manufacture 4 shirts per day by an employee, and if that particular employee is kind of sick, or if he's not working because of other reasons, you can't have that try to implement that kind of standards in the organization. In that case, your team output will be like reduced. So you really have to point out the exceptions, and then you have to like fit your control system to the organization culture. So imagine your people are always like people oriented, and they're not task oriented. You can't like have a control to keep them to make them work 8 hours a day without any other engaging activities. Okay, you have to like fit your control system, like you have to make it really flexible. Okay, you cannot always like go for being more objective. You have to be a little subjective as well. Okay, and then you have to like have your controls which leads to the corrective action. You always have to make the controls like you can't just say, okay, if you're getting something wrong, you can't just say it's wrong, we can't do nothing about it. You should have your evaluation techniques integrated with the correction process as well. Okay, so next we'll be like moving into the next topic, budgeting. Okay, budgeting here is an important thing, because most of the companies like operate to make money, because anybody like doing things in terms to get, most of the times people do things to get monetary benefits. Okay, people go for a job to earn money. People start companies because they want to earn more money. Yes, sometimes people do for different reasons to make things work or to help people to make a difference. Yes, but sometimes most of the time it is related to money. Okay, so here budgeting is one of the major control technique which is like used, okay, to formulate things based on the numerical terms. Okay, but you can't always rely on budgeting. Sometimes it becomes very complex. You have to bring in auditors and accountants to make things more to get it feasible. Okay, and it can be like expensive as well. Okay, zero based budgeting, it's actually a concepts where in enterprise any company will have different programs, different products, and each of the division or product will be like categorized into packages where each of the division will be having their own goals and activities. Okay, and all their costs will be calculated from base zero. Okay, so it will be like dealt as different packages, so that is called as zero based budgeting. Okay, so there are like a few other non-budgetary control devices also like available, where so these that is like they are based on time event network analysis. So these three things are based on non-traditional budgeting techniques. They're Gantt charts, milestones budgeting, and PERT. PERT stands for Program Evaluation and Review Technique. Okay, so this Gantt chart, first of these techniques, where the chart system was developed by Henry Gantt during the early 20th centuries. Okay, so it's very simple in concept. The chart here relates time relationship between the events of the production program. Okay, so the most important development of the this control technique is it will be like picking out the critical elements to watch carefully. Okay, so here you will be like drawing the activities in the charts as a bar graph. Okay, in the milestone budgeting, it's actually an extension of Gantt chart, where you'll be like identifying the milestone in each of the activities. Okay, in PERT is this little extension of Gantt chart and milestone budgeting, where you will be like timing these activities. Okay, so maybe I can like show you the example of a PERT diagram so that we can able to like understand it. Okay, so this is how it looks like. There is an activity A. Okay, the circle is an activity which sorry. Circle is the event, arrow is the activity. Okay, so event A leads to event B, which leads to both C and D, and C leads to E, and E event leads to F, D event leads to F. Okay, so you this is A is your input and B is your F is your output. For example, you can keep it like that, and to manufacture the product, you can just choose the path A, B, C, D, F, or A, B, D, and F. Whereas like C and E is like integrated together as an automated process of D. You can keep it like that. Okay, so this is your example of PERT, where you will be like having a time. Okay, and the time taken to complete that activity. So for example, we have an event 10 to 20. So I have the time here is 9, 6, 9, 12. So we have 3 times. So so 9 is the most likely time to complete that activity. So 6 is the optimistic time. So I might be able to complete this activity in 6 minutes when everything goes fine. So this is my optimistic time. Okay, 12 is my pessimistic time, and 9 is the most likely time that anyone can complete this activity. So imagine you have to write one page right now. So some people will finish in 5 minutes, some people will finish in 3 minutes, and some people might take 10 minutes. It depends on person to person, right? So here the average time is taken as the most likely time, and this is my optimistic time, and this is my pessimistic time. So any activity will have this 3 different times. Okay, so when you want to like complete a finished product, either you can take this path of 10 to 20 to 70 to 90, or 10 to 20, 50, 80, 90, or 10, 30, 50, 80, 90, or 10 to 40 to 50 to 80, 90, or 10, 40, 60, 80, 90. Okay, but you have to really find out the critical path. Critical path is nothing but a path which takes the least time. Okay, here when you see, when you like calculate the time taken to reach from 10 to 90, this path has the minimum time. Okay, 10 to 20, 20 to 70, 70 to 90. You can sum it up. Okay, you can sum the most likely time, and then you can find out. Okay, this path is the critical path. So the path which takes the less time to achieve that particular stage, you can call it as a critical path. So this is an event. The arrow mark is the activity. Okay, so that I have described it here. Okay, and you have activate time and the time estimates. We have three time estimates: most likely time, pessimistic time, and optimistic time, and we have the critical path. So these are the 5 features of PERT, which is nothing but program evaluation and review technique. Okay, so in the Gantt chart, you will be just having this arrow marks. Okay, you'll not be having this milestones. Okay, so this 10, 20 is active, is a milestones. You'll be like having this graph only, lines only in the Gantt chart through x and y axis. In the milestones, you'll be having these activities in the middle. In the but you'll be having the activity time as well. Okay, so this is actually an evolution which happened, and right now most of the companies are using PERT. So it's a lot of strengths and weakness of PERT. Okay, so the most important strengths or advantages of PERT are like it forces the managers to plan, because it is impossible to make time event analysis without planning and seeing how the pieces fit together. So the managers really have to plan their things. It also forces planning all the way down the line, because each subordinate manager must plan the event for which he or she is responsible. It concentrates attention on critical elements that they may need correction. It makes possible a kind of forward-looking control. Okay, and here the network system with its subsystem enables the managers to aim reports and pressure for action at the right spot and level. Okay, but like the strength that it has also a lot of weakness. Okay, due to the importance of activity time, the technique is not useful when the program is like dynamic. Okay, and you can't always like guess. Okay, and its emphasis on time only is without considering other factors like cost is a real disadvantage. Okay, this can be like suitable for few programs in which time is a very important factor, but when you have to like consider cost also, you can't like use this. Okay, information technology. Okay, this is actually a very important topic where the whole world is glued to it. Okay, one has to realize the real distinction between the data and information first here. Okay, so data is nothing but the raw facts that you have, whereas when you process the data, you'll be getting the information. Okay, so how it is possible? By the means of in IT techniques. Okay, so MIS or Management Information System, it's a part of business studies, a very important subject in business studies, where it deals with how you can gather the data, process the data, and then disperse the data so that people can able to understand it in the right way, so that they can able to do their job. Okay, so this data is very much essential for any manager to do the task. Okay, so right now this data is kind of like is a very much important, and it is called as the next oil, right? So we have this big data and data science concepts are like going booming very much right now, and organizations have like found a new way to digest this data, and they have like a lot of intelligent techniques like business intelligent platforms are available like Tableau, Power BI, and many more to process this data, so that people can able to like manage things based on the numbers. Actually, right now the world is being managed only through numbers. Even right now during this COVID breakdown, we assess how the country is doing by looking at the numbers of people was affected with coronavirus, or a number of people who have died through coronavirus. So this numbers are kind of very much important even during the deaths. Okay, so the Twitter phenomena, it is nothing but how the social media has kind of enabled the companies to earn more. So right now we can take any company, and everybody has their account in their social media. So they almost, you take any company, they have their own page in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, okay, where they like try to and especially LinkedIn, which is a professional media, where people post about their current happenings, and their values, and product services they offer in. And people who really want to like use their products or get employed there, they go on, become a member of that particular community and get to know the information. Okay, so we have a lot of opportunities and challenges created because of this IT boom. And one of the major thing is like people who are a little old, they still have resistance to use the gadgets, computers, and for them it's very difficult. You can like take a very old bank employees, the government employees who still have struggles in using the computers. Okay, but the government gave them right training to get them back on track. Okay, analytics and managing, because you have to really get the real-time information. It is really tough, but and costly. And if you get everything on process, you can really do it. You can make wonders and make more profits. uh, Book My Show and all this shopping apps like Flipkart and Amazon, it's all possible because you are able to get real-time information. Imagine you're trying to book a product in Flipkart or Amazon, and it's only like 2 products are available, and 10 people are trying to buy it. Only the first 2 people who click through it will be able to get it, right? So and how Amazon knows there's only like 2 products are available with the vendor? Okay, so it is able to like collect the information of the stock from the vendor, and based on that it calculates, and based on the person who clicks first, get that information, get that particular product. Okay, and speech recognition devices, it's even now nowadays your phone has it, right? And telecommuting. Okay, telecommuting is nothing but working from home. Okay, so right now everybody is like working from home because of this IT. Even this lecture is possible just because of the advancement in the information technology infrastructure. Okay, and all this computer advancement in the computer networks and internet. This is all possible only because of that, right? Okay, there are a few things that you have to really understand. When what groupware is nothing but when a group of people can network and work together, you can call that as a groupware. Maybe like Skype is an example for that. Whereas freeware is nothing but a free business model where like people can use it free, but whereas like the companies are making money out of it. Wikipedia and Google are very good example for that. To open a Google account, you don't have to pay anyone, but it is like generating revenue through the ads and other stuff, right? Okay, so there are like 4 types of business happens in e-commerce and in commerce. E-commerce nothing but a mobile commerce, and e-commerce electronic commerce. Okay, business to consumers, B2C. So here, the Amazon and Flipkart is a very good example where businesses come and post their products and consumers buy it. Consumers to businesses, like consumers post it and sometimes businesses buy it. Is it sometimes happens with Amazon, or you have like Quickware or OLX, where like when someone you have to like buy a used product, you can just go there. Okay, consumer to consumer, yes, eBay is possible, and even in Quickware it's possible. Business to business, IndiaMart is a very good example. Okay, so where businesses like post their queries, and even another business which is looking for that kind of services can just log in and get kind of that kind of information. Okay. Okay, this information technology has made is a boon to CRM. CRM is nothing but customer relationship management. So companies really want their customers to be very happy, and nowadays they don't treat them as just a person who buys a product. Okay, they really want them to, and they want to really engage them and consider them as part of a stockholder, so that they want to engage them and they want them to be loyal so that they can come back to us. Okay, so in this case they really have to enhance the relationship. So this IT technologies has enabled companies to has enabled this. Some I was saying all the companies have Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram pages where through which it can able to like meet the customers directly. Imagine the companies like Shell, HP, they don't have end consumers directly there. Okay, sometimes a few products yes, but not all products they make don't have the end consumers, but they were able to like meet the end consumers directly through their social media accounts. Okay.